Tunde. Bisi's voice trembled as she spoke. Her hands shook slightly as she approached the boy. There's something important I need to tell you. Please don't be angry with me. I've kept this secret for a long time and I'm sorry. Tunde looked up from his homework, confusion clear on his face. He stood up and walked towards Bisi, concern in his eyes. Nanny Bisi, what's wrong? What secret are you talking about? Bisi took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Tund, this isn't easy to say. I'm your real mother. You're my son. Tears began to roll down Bisi's cheeks as she watched Tunde's face change from confusion to disbelief. The room fell silent. The only sound was Bisi's quiet sobs. Tunde stumbled backward, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. You can't be my mother. You're my nanny. I know it's hard to believe, Tunde, Bisi said softly, reaching out towards him. But it's the truth. When you were born, I had no choice. I left you at the billionaire's gates so you could have a better life. I couldn't provide for you then. Tunde's mind was reeling. He couldn't process what he was hearing. If you're really my mother, why did you keep it a secret all this time? Why didn't you tell me? Bisi wiped her tears, trying to compose herself. I had to keep it a secret to protect you, to make sure you had a good life. But things are different now. We could leave together, start a new life. Tunde stood there, silent and stunned. His nanny, the woman who had cared for him for years, was claiming to be his mother. It seemed impossible. Tunde, Bisi continued, her voice urgent. You won that prize money, 20 million naira. We could use that to build a new life together, just the two of us. But Tunde wasn't ready to accept this revelation. No, I'm not going anywhere. How do I know you're telling the truth? How can I believe you're really my mother? Bisi pleaded with him, her voice filled with desperation. Tunde, please, we don't have much time. We need to leave before it's too late. We can go to your school, claim the prize money, and start over. As Bisi continued to explain, sharing details from the past, Tunde began to see the truth in her words. The love she had always shown him, the special bond they shared, it all started to make sense. But even as he began to accept that Bisi might truly be his mother, a new worry formed in his mind. But how can we leave? Tunde asked, his voice barely above a whisper. How can we escape from here? They both knew escaping wouldn't be easy. Tunde whispered, how will we get past the gate? The guards are always there. Bisi sighed. I know, Tunde. It's going to be tricky. We need to be patient and careful. They often found themselves staring at the high walls and watchful guards, feeling trapped. The gateman was particularly vigilant, never leaving his post unattended. Maybe we could sneak out at night, Tunde suggested hopefully. It's too risky, Bisi replied. The security cameras are always on, and the night guards do regular patrols. Their desire for freedom grew, but so did their frustration at the seemingly impossible task ahead. The next day, Bisi sat alone in her small room, her mind racing with ideas. She tried to think of ways to escape with Tunde, but each plan seemed more impossible than the last. We could sneak out at night, she muttered to herself. No, the guards would catch us. She paced back and forth, growing more frustrated. Maybe we could disguise ourselves, but how would we get past the gate? After hours of failed planning, Bisi slumped onto her bed, feeling defeated. Suddenly, a new thought struck her. What if I just told them the truth? She whispered. The idea both terrified and excited her. She imagined herself standing before the billionaire, revealing her true identity as Tunde's mother. It's risky, she said to herself, but it might be our only chance. Bisi took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. I have to do this, she decided. For Tunde, for both of us. She knew this choice would change everything, but she was ready to fight for her son. By evening, the billionaire's family had gathered for dinner. The dining room was filled with the clinking of expensive cutlery and quiet conversation. Bisi stood nervously by the door, her heart pounding. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. I'm sorry, sir, but I have something important to say. Bisi spoke, her voice trembling slightly. Mr. Olu looked up from his plate, confusion etched on his face. What is it, Bisi? Can't it wait until after dinner? Bisi shook her head. No, sir, it can't wait any longer. She paused, gathering her courage. The truth is, Tunde is my son. I'm his real mother. The room fell silent. Lola's fork clattered onto her plate. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Tunde is our son! She screamed, her face turning red. Mr. Olu stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Bisi, what's wrong with you? We hired you as a nanny, not to claim our child as your own. Bisi's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, sir, but it's true. I had to leave him at your gate years ago because I was too poor to raise him. When I saw you needed a nanny, I took the chance to be close to him. I never meant to deceive you. Lola's voice was cold with fury. This is ridiculous. You're fired, Bisi. Pack your things and get out of our house immediately. Bisi stood her ground, her voice growing stronger. I can't leave without Tunde. He's my biological son. I won't abandon him again. Mr. Olu's face contorted with anger. This is outrageous. You have no right to come into our home and make these claims. Leave now, or I'll call the police. Please, I want to go with her, Tunde cried out, tears streaming down his face. He tried to run to Bisi, but Lola grabbed his arm. You can't go with her, Tunde, Lola said firmly. We're your parents. We raised you. Now go to your room and don't say another word. Bisi's heart broke seeing Tunde's distress. I won't leave without my son, she repeated, her voice cracking with emotion. Mr. Olu had heard enough. He turned to the doorway and shouted, Security! Get in here now! The gateman rushed in, looking confused. Mr. Olu pointed at Bisi. Remove this woman from our property immediately. She is no longer welcome here. No, please, Bisi begged as the gateman grabbed her arm. Nanny Bisi! Tunde tried to break free from Lola's grip. Don't take her away. But it was too late. The gateman dragged Bisi through the house and out the front door. With a final shove, she found herself outside the gate, alone on the dark street. As the gate clanged shut behind her, Bisi collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Inside, she could still hear Tunde's muffled cries. The night air was cold, and she had nowhere to go. But even in her despair, she made a silent promise to her son. I'll find a way back to you, Tunde. I won't give up. Bisi wandered the dark streets for hours, her feet aching and her heart heavy. Finally, she stumbled upon an unfinished building and decided to take shelter there for the night. As she lay on the cold concrete floor, her mind raced with worry and regret. What have I done? She whispered to herself. How will I ever see Tunde again? She tossed and turned, unable to find comfort. Maybe I should have waited longer, she muttered, but I couldn't keep lying to him. Meanwhile, back at the billionaire's mansion, Tunde lay awake in his bed, tears silently rolling down his cheeks. Why did they send Nanny Bisi away? He wondered aloud. She's my real mom. Will I ever see her again? He clutched his pillow tightly, feeling more alone than ever. I wish I could have gone with her, he sniffled. What if she doesn't come back for me? As the night wore on, both Bisi and Tunde remained awake, their thoughts filled with fear and longing for each other. The next morning, Mr. Olu and Lola sat in their luxurious living room, their faces etched with worry. The events of the previous night weighed heavily on their minds. Lola broke the tense silence. Honey, what if Bisi was telling the truth? What if Tunde really is her son? Mr. Olu frowned, rubbing his temples. I've been thinking about that too. Remember how we found Tunde at our gate all those years ago? Lola nodded slowly. Yes, it was such a strange night. We just took him in. I've been suspecting something was off with that nanny, Mr. Olu admitted. She was always so close to Tunde, more than a normal nanny would be. Lola's voice rose with anger. I can't believe we hired her. Now she shows up claiming Tunde as her own, a boy she abandoned. We're the ones who gave him a good life. Mr. Olu stood up, pacing the room. After all these years of raising Tunde, how can she think she has any right to him now? Exactly, Lola exclaimed. She's poor. She has no resources. We're the ones who've provided for Tunde. She can't just waltz in and take him away. Unknown to them, Tunde stood just outside the room, listening to every word, his small hands clenched into fists as he realized the truth of Bisi's words. Later that day, Mr. Olu noticed Tunde's change in behavior. "Tunde, come here! Why aren't you eating your dinner?" Tunde glared at him, pushing his plate away. "I'm not hungry." Lola tried to intervene. "Tunde, honey, what's wrong? You love this food." "Stop pretending you care," Tunde shouted, surprising both adults. "You're not my real parents." Mr. Olu's face hardened. "Tunde, that's no way to speak to us. Go to your room now." As Tunde stormed off, Lola turned to her husband, her voice trembling. "What are we gonna do? He's never acted like this before." Mr. Olu sighed heavily. "We'll have to be patient. He's confused right now, but we're his parents. No matter what BC says, he'll come around." But as days passed, Tunde's behavior only worsened. He refused to eat, barely spoke, and spent most of his time alone in his room. Lola and Mr. Olu exchanged worried glances. They were losing the boy they had raised as their own, and they didn't know how to fix it. BC sat on the curb, her head in her hands. "How can I fight against rich people like them?" she muttered to herself. "I'm just a poor woman, but I can't give up on my son." Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed openly on the street. A man walking by noticed her distress and approached cautiously. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said gently. "Is everything okay? Why are you crying out here in this heat?" BC looked up, wiping her eyes. "It's nothing you can help with. The problem is too big." The man sat down beside her. "Sometimes talking about our problems can help. Why don't you tell me what's wrong? Maybe I can offer some advice or assistance." BC hesitated, then sighed. "Well, it's a long story, but it's about my son. He's been taken from me by a wealthy family." The man listened intently as BC began to share her story, offering her a sympathetic ear in her moment of despair. BC took a deep breath and began sharing her story with the stranger. "It all started years ago when I was young and poor. I had a baby boy, but I couldn't take care of him. So I left him at a rich family's gate, hoping they'd give him a better life." The man listened intently, nodding for her to continue. "Recently, I got a job as a nanny for that same family. I didn't know it was my son at first, but when I realized, I couldn't keep it a secret anymore. I told them the truth, and they kicked me out. Now they're keeping my son from me." BC finished, her voice breaking. "Please," she pleaded. "I just want my son back. He's not happy with them. I know it in my heart." The man's expression softened. "I understand your pain, but crying won't solve anything. You need to be strong for your son. I think I might be able to help you, but I need to be certain you're telling the truth. Are you really the boy's mother?" BC nodded vigorously. "Yes, I swear it. I can prove it if I need to." The man introduced himself as Mr. Dare, a lawyer. "Your situation touches me, BC. I want to help you." BC's eyes lit up with hope. "Really? You'd do that for me?" Mr. Dare smiled kindly. "Yes, but first, let's get you somewhere safe to stay. You can't keep sleeping on the streets." He helped BC find a small, affordable apartment. "It's not much," he said, "but it's a start. You'll be safe here while we figure out what to do next." BC looked around the tiny room, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Dare. I don't know how to repay you." "Don't worry about that now," he replied. "Let's focus on getting your son back." With the little money she had saved from her nanny job, BC bought some basic groceries. As she put them away in the small kitchen, she turned to Mr. Dare. "What's our next step?" she asked, determination in her voice. "Mr.?" Dare sat at the small table, his brow furrowed in thought. "First, we need to gather evidence. Do you have any documents that prove you're Tunde's mother? Birth certificate, maybe?" BC's face fell. "No, I don't have anything like that. I was so young and scared when I had him." "That makes things harder, but not impossible," Mr. Dare reassured her. "We might need to consider a DNA test. Are you willing to do that?" BC nodded without hesitation. "Absolutely. Anything to get my son back." Mr. Dare stood up, a plan forming in his mind. "All right, BC, get some rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll start building our case. It won't be easy going against a wealthy family. But I promise you, we'll do everything we can to reunite you with your son." As Mr. Dare left, BC sat on her small bed, feeling a mix of hope and anxiety. She looked out the window, thinking of Tunde. "Hold on, my son," she whispered. "I'm coming for you. I won't give up." 2 days later, BC and Mr. Dare stood at the gates of the billionaire's mansion. BC's heart raced as they were led in by the security guard. They found Mr. Olu and Lola relaxing on the patio, enjoying the cool evening breeze. Mr. Olu's eyes widened in surprise when he saw BC. "You again? I thought we made it clear you weren't welcome here. And who's this man with you?" Mr. Dare stepped forward, his demeanor professional and calm. "Good evening, Mr. Olu. I'm Dare Johnson, an attorney representing Ms. Beasy. We're here to discuss the matter of Tunde." Lola stood up abruptly, her face flushing with anger. "There's nothing to discuss. Tunde is our son." Mr. Olu placed a hand on his wife's arm, trying to calm her. He turned to Mr. Olu, Dare with a forced smile. "So, BC's brought a lawyer to claim Tunde. That's quite amusing, considering she has no proof he's her son." Mr. Dare remained unruffled. "That's precisely why we're here, Mr. Olu. We'd like to propose a DNA test to determine Tunde's parentage once and for all." Mr. Olu's smile faltered. "A DNA test? That's absurd. We don't need to prove anything. Tunde is our son. End of story." BC, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Please, Mr. Olu, if you're so sure, why not take the test? What are you afraid of?" Lola glared at BC. "We're not afraid of anything. We just don't need to prove ourselves to a woman who we employed as a nanny over our child." Mr. Dare intervened, his voice firm but respectful. "Mr. and Mrs. Olu, I understand this is a sensitive issue, but surely you can see that a DNA test would put this matter to rest. If Tunde is truly your biological son, you have nothing to lose." Mr. Olu paced the patio, clearly agitated. "This is ridiculous. We've raised Tunde for years. We're the only parents he's ever known." "That may be true," Mr. Dare acknowledged, "but it doesn't change the fact that Miss BC claims to be his biological mother. A DNA test is the most straightforward way to resolve this." A tense silence fell over the group. Mr. Olu and Lola exchanged worried glances. BC pleaded, her voice breaking. "Please, I just want to know for sure. Don't you want to know the truth?" Mr. Olu ran his hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. "And what if the test shows Tunde isn't our biological son? What then? Do you expect us to just hand him over to you?" "Mister?" Dare shook his head. "No one's talking about taking Tunde away right now. This is simply about establishing the truth. Any decisions about Tunde's future would need to consider his best interests." Lola burst out. "His best interests are with us. We're the ones who've given him everything." BC couldn't hold back her tears. "I know you've taken good care of him. I'm grateful for that. But he's my son. I have a right to be in his life." The argument continued, voices rising and falling as emotions ran high. Mr. Olu paced back and forth, clearly torn. Finally, after what seemed like hours of debate, Mr. Olu held up his hand. "Enough? Fine. We'll do the DNA test." Lola gasped. "Olu, are you sure?" He nodded, his expression grim. "Yes. If it's the only way to put this matter to rest, then so be it. But understand this," he said, turning to BC and Mr. Dare. "Regardless of what the test shows, we won't give up Tunde without a fight." Mr. Dare nodded solemnly. "We understand. Thank you for agreeing to the test. We'll arrange for it to be done at a reputable clinic as soon as possible." As BC and Mr. Dare prepared to leave, BC caught a glimpse of Tunde watching from an upstairs window. Their eyes met briefly before he disappeared from view. BC's heart ached, but she felt a glimmer of hope. "Soon," she whispered to herself. "Soon I'll know the truth." The next day, a tense group gathered at the hospital for the DNA test. BC, Mr. Dare, and Mr. Olu sat in the waiting room, avoiding eye contact with each other. After what felt like hours, the doctor emerged with a folder in hand. "I have the results," he announced. Everyone leaned forward, hearts racing. The doctor cleared his throat. "According to the DNA analysis, the child Tunde is Mr. Olu's biological son." A collective gasp filled the room. Mr. Olu stood stunned. BC shook her head violently. "No, that's impossible. There must be a mistake. Tunde is my son." Mr. Dare gently took the results from the doctor, his brow furrowed as he read. I'm sorry, BC, but it's clear here. The DNA matches Mr. Olu. BC collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. This can't be right. How is this possible? Mr. Olu, still in shock, muttered, I didn't expect this. I truly thought. The doctor tried to comfort BC. I understand this is difficult, but the test is highly accurate. BC looked up, her eyes wild with desperation. Please, there must be some mistake. Can we do the test again? Mr. Dare placed a hand on her shoulder. BC, I know this isn't what you wanted to hear, but we have to accept the results. As the reality sank in, BC's cries echoed through the hospital corridor, leaving everyone wondering how this unexpected turn of events could have happened. BC crumpled to the floor of the hospital corridor, her body shaking with uncontrollable sobs. Passersby cast sympathetic glances, but she was oblivious to everything except her overwhelming grief. How is this possible? She whispered between gasps. Tunde's my son. I carried him. I gave birth to him. How can the DNA say otherwise? Mr. Dare knelt beside her, his face etched with concern. BC, please, try to calm down. We need to think this through. BC looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. Think what through? The test says Tunde isn't mine, but I know he is. I just know it. Meanwhile, Mr. Olu stood a few feet away, his expression a mix of relief and confusion. He turned to Mr. Dare, his voice steady but with a hint of smugness. Well, Mr. Lawyer, I told you from the beginning that Tunde was our son. I hope this puts an end to your client's ridiculous claims. Mr. Dare frowned, clearly troubled by the turn of events. Mr. Olu, I admit I didn't expect this outcome, but you must understand why we pursued this course of action. Mister? Olu waved his hand dismissively. I understand nothing except that you've wasted our time and caused unnecessary stress to my family. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going home to my son. As Mr. Olu walked away, BC struggled to her feet, her legs weak and unsteady. Lawyer, please, she begged, grabbing Mr. Dare's arm. You can't give up now. There must be some mistake. Tunde is my son. I don't understand how the DNA could say Mr. Olu is the father. Mr. Dare sighed heavily, his professional demeanor slipping to reveal his own confusion and disappointment. BC, I want to believe you, but DNA doesn't lie. It's the most accurate way to determine parentage. But what if something went wrong with the test? BC pressed, desperation clear in her voice. What if there was a mix-up at the lab? Or what if someone tampered with the results? Mister? Dare shook his head slowly. Those are serious accusations, BC. We can't make claims like that without evidence. I'm sorry, but I don't see what else we can do at this point. BC's face crumpled, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. So that's it? You're giving up on me? On Tunde? The lawyer placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. I'm not giving up, BC, but we need to be realistic. The law is clear on this matter. Without evidence to challenge the DNA results, we have no legal grounds to pursue custody. BC pulled away from him, her voice rising with anger and despair. I don't care about legal grounds. I care about my son. I won't stop fighting for him, even if I have to do it alone. With that, she turned and stumbled down the hospital corridor, leaving Mr. Dare standing there, watching her go with a mixture of sympathy and helplessness. Mr. Olu pulled into the driveway of his mansion, his mind still reeling from the day's events. He hurried inside, finding Lola lounging on the couch watching TV. Darling, you won't believe what happened at the hospital today, he said, his voice filled with excitement and confusion. Lola turned to him, a sly smile on her face. Oh? Try me. I might not be as surprised as you think. Mr. Olu's eyebrows shot up. What do you mean? Do you know something about this? Lola laughed, a hint of mischief in her eyes. Let's just say I had a feeling things would work out in our favor. Lola, what are you talking about? Mr. Olu pressed. The DNA test. It said I'm Tunde's father. But how is that possible? Lola stood up, walking towards her husband. Oh, Olu, did you really think I'd let that woman take our son? Of course, I made sure the test results went our way. Mr. Olu's jaw dropped. Wait, are you saying you tampered with the test? Lola nodded, looking rather proud of herself. I contacted the doctor at Eco Medical Center and made sure he'd give us the results we wanted. A little bribe goes a long way. Mr. Olu was speechless for a moment, then pulled Lola into a tight hug. I can't believe you did that. You're incredible. Lola hugged him back, her voice hardening. That Beezy girl is delusional if she thinks she can come back after all these years and take Tunde from us. Not on my watch. Mr. Olu pulled back, a mix of admiration and concern on his face. But Lola, if this ever gets out... Lola waved her hand dismissively. It won't. We're in the clear now. Tunde is ours legally and officially. End of story. Despite the setback with the DNA test, Beezy refused to give up on Tunde. Each day, she'd wake up with renewed determination. I know I'm poor, she'd tell herself. But I'm his mother. I have to keep fighting. As she sat in her small rented room, an idea struck her. Tunde's school, she exclaimed. I can find him there. Beezy paced her room, planning her next move. I'll go to his school, she muttered. I can talk to him there, away from the billionaires. She hesitated, worry creeping in. But what if they've told the school not to let me near him? Shaking off her doubts, Beezy straightened her shoulders. It doesn't matter. I have to try. Tunde needs to know the truth. She glanced at the clock, calculating the best time to go. I'll wait until just before school ends. That's my best chance to see him. With a mix of hope and anxiety, Beezy prepared herself for the confrontation ahead, determined to reconnect with her son, no matter the obstacles. Beezy woke up early, her heart filled with hope. She carefully chose her clothes, wanting to look presentable. As the school day neared its end, she hailed a bike. To King's Academy, please, she told the rider, her voice trembling with anticipation. Arriving at the school, Beezy's eyes scanned the compound anxiously. Suddenly, she collided with someone. Oh, I'm sorry, Beezy apologized, looking up to see a familiar face. The teacher's eyes widened in recognition. Wait, aren't you Tunde's nanny? Beezy stumbled over her words. Yes, I was. I'm here to pick him up. The teacher frowned, confused. Tund? But he doesn't go here anymore, didn't you know? Beezy's heart sank. What do you mean? When did this happen? His parents transferred him after he won that big award, the teacher explained. I thought you'd know, being his nanny and all. Beezy's mind raced. No, there must be some mistake. Can I check his classroom? The teacher shook her head. I'm sorry, but that's not possible. Is everything okay? You seem upset. Beezy forced a smile. No, everything's fine. I must have forgotten about the transfer. Thank you. As the teacher walked away, Beezy leaned against a wall, devastation washing over her. She realized the billionaires had outsmarted her once again, moving Tunde to keep him out of her reach. What am I going to do now? She whispered, tears welling in her eyes. The path to her son seemed to grow more difficult with each passing day. Tunde sat at his desk, staring blankly at the open book before him. While his classmates laughed and played outside, he remained lost in thought, his mind filled with worry about his real mother, Beezy. His teacher, Mrs. Titi, watched him with concern. Tunde, she called softly. When he didn't respond, she approached his desk. Tunde, she said louder, tapping his shoulder. Tunde startled, looking up at his teacher with sad eyes. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Titi, I didn't hear you. Mrs. Titi pulled up a chair. Tunde, what's wrong? You've been so quiet lately. This isn't like you at all. Tunde hesitated, then sighed deeply. It's nothing, Mrs. Titi. I'm fine. But Mrs. Titi wasn't convinced. Come on, Tunde. I can see something's bothering you. Maybe I can help if you tell me what's going on. After some gentle prodding, Tunde finally opened up. It's my mother, he said quietly. My real mother. She's been forced to leave, and I'm not happy living with the billionaires anymore. Mrs. Titi listened intently as Tunde poured out his story. When he finished, she placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. Oh, Tunde, that's such a difficult situation. Your mother needs legal help. Actually, my husband is a judge. He might be able to assist. Tunde's eyes lit up slightly. Really? You do that for me? Mrs. Teedy nodded. Of course. But tell me, do you know where your mother is staying now? Tunde shook his head sadly. No, but I remember the lawyer who was helping her. His name is Mr. Dare. He lives at number 20 in our estate. His son is in my class, Wale. Mrs. Teedy's eyes widened in recognition. Mr. Dare? I know him. He's a friend of my husband. This is perfect, Tunde. We might be able to locate your mother through him. For the first time in days, a small smile appeared on Tunde's face. Thank you so much, Mrs. Teedy. She squeezed his hand reassuringly. Everything will be okay, Tunde. We'll figure this out. Now, why don't you go join your friends outside? It might help take your mind off things for a bit. Tunde nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope as he headed to the playground. Mrs. Teedy watched him go, already planning how she could help reunite this young boy with his mother. After her conversation with Tunde, Mrs. Teedy wasted no time in discussing the matter with her husband, Judge Bello. Honey, I have a sensitive case I need your help with, she began. It's about one of my students, Tunde. Judge Bello listened intently as his wife explained the situation. This is indeed a complex case, he said, but we can't ignore a child's welfare. I'll look into it immediately. After Mrs. Teedy's conversation with her husband, Judge Bello, he took immediate action. The next morning, he called his court clerk. I need 2 summons prepared immediately, he instructed. One for Mr. and Mrs. Olu, and another for a woman named Beezy. The clerk nodded. Yes, Your Honor. I'll have them ready within the hour. By afternoon, 2 official-looking envelopes were on their way. A court courier drove to the billionaire's mansion first, ringing the doorbell with a sense of importance. The housekeeper answered, Yes? Delivery for Mr. and Mrs. Olu, the courier said, handing over the envelope. At the same time, another courier navigated the bustling streets to find Beezy's modest apartment. He knocked on her door repeatedly until she answered. Ms. Beezy? He asked. When she nodded, he handed her the envelope. Court summons for you, ma'am. Back at the mansion, Mr. Olu tore open the envelope, his face growing redder as he read. Lola, he yelled. Come here now. Lola rushed in. What is it, dear? Mr. Olu's voice shook as he read aloud. You are hereby summoned to appear in court to prove the biological parentage of the child known as Tunde. This is outrageous. Lola's face paled. How did this happen? We were so careful with everything. Mr. Olu crumpled the paper in his fist. I don't know, but we're not going down without a fight. Call our lawyer immediately. On the day of the hearing, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Judge Bello entered, and everyone rose. Be seated, he said. We're here to determine the true parentage of Tunde. Let's begin with the previous DNA test results. Mr. Olu's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we have those results here. They clearly show my client is the father. As he handed over the documents, the court-appointed investigator interrupted. Your Honor, I have an urgent matter to report. Judge Bello nodded. Proceed. The investigator took a deep breath. We found evidence that the original DNA test was tampered with. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Olu grabbed Lola's hand, both looking panicked. Order, Judge Bello demanded. This is a serious allegation. Can you elaborate? The investigator explained. We traced large payments from an offshore account to the lab technician who handled the test. Judge Bello's face hardened. In light of this, I'm ordering a new DNA test to be conducted under strict supervision. Days later, everyone reconvened. The tension was palpable as the court clerk stood up with the results. The DNA test confirms that Beezy is the biological mother of Tunde with 99.9% certainty. Beezy couldn't contain herself. I knew it. He's my son, she cried out. Mr. Olu stood up, shouting, This is impossible. It must be another mistake. Silence, Judge Bello commanded. He took a moment before continuing. Based on this evidence, I rule in favor of Beezy. She is granted full custody of Tunde. He then addressed the billionaires directly. You are ordered to return the prize money of 20 million naira to Tunde to be held in trust by Beezy. As the gavel fell, Beezy hugged her lawyer, sobbing. Thank you so much. I can't believe it's finally over. Outside, Tunde broke away from the billionaires and ran to Bisi. "Mom!" he cried, throwing himself into her arms. Bisi held him tight, her voice shaking. "Yes, my darling. We're together now, and I promise nothing will ever separate us again." Mr. Olu watched the scene, his face a mix of anger and defeat. "This isn't over," he muttered to Lola. "We'll appeal. We'll fight this." But as they watched Tunde and Bisi leave hand in hand, both knew that their perfect family facade had crumbled for good. Mr. Olu and his wife Lola were furious after losing the court case. Weeks had passed, but the bitterness in their hearts only grew stronger. They couldn't believe they had lost custody of Tunde, the boy they had raised as their own. "I can't just let them take Tunde away from us like this," Mr. Olu muttered, his voice thick with frustration. "We were the ones who raised him, and now they're just going to take him away. It's not fair." Lola's eyes narrowed, and her anger flared even more. "If I can't have Tunde, then nobody will," she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "I already have a plan." Without another word, she stood up abruptly and marched into her room. Her hands trembled with rage as she grabbed her phone. She dialed a number quickly, her mind racing with dark thoughts. "Yes. Are you and your men ready?" she asked, her tone cold and commanding. "Everything happens today. When you kidnap the boy, make sure you kill him." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line before she continued, her voice filled with a twisted satisfaction. "Let's see how they feel when they lose him too. If I can't have Tunde, then nobody will. We all lose the boy." She ended the call with a wicked laugh, the sound echoing through the room. If you're eager to see how this story unfolds, please subscribe and let us know in the comments below. Type "continue" to see part 3. Your feedback will help shape future videos on this channel.